Greetings,
right.
Internet.
Hello.
I'm William.
Hello, I'm Paul, co-founder here of Edge, and we are here for another Friday live Q&A. And finally, here in San Diego, we've got a nice day outside of our quote-unquote studios here, studios here over in San Diego in the downtown area.
There was a bit of rain, which for
Oh my
San
God,
Diego is like weird because we
it's
have
been
like
miserable.
3 rains a week or three rains a year.
Yes, but all of winter, it feels like it's rained half the time. But I look at it this way: you're in Chicago, you get the polar vortex. San Diego, we got rain, so we're not too bad off.
Yeah.
So, but it's a gorgeous day today. We got a good number of cool things to talk about actually today. A lot of questions, and if you guys have any additional questions for us, please fire off. We are on Periscope and on YouTube. We'll be taking questions over there, and look forward to hearing from you guys. But interesting things that have come across our plate over the week.
Well, we started off with a question, right? Someone asked us the question on Twitter.
A few of those, but there's one because we just had a meetup recently. We hosted and sponsored a Bitcoin Pizza Day meetup. And actually one of the questions, which is a legit question from someone at the meetup, and they said, so what's the big deal about Bitcoin Pizza Day? And so somebody bought some pizza with Bitcoin. Like, why is this such a big deal? Why are meetups all over the country doing anything about Bitcoin Pizza Day?
Well, so the story is, well, this is actually not a story, like in the sense of a story. It's like, this actually happened.
This actually happened, yep.
2010, May 22nd. So 2010 would be, Bitcoin was like a year old? Because it released in...
A year and a half, I guess, because May 2010, it got released in January 2009. So a little less than a year and a half old at that point in time.
So at that point, Bitcoin was worth fractions of a penny. Bitcoin had the price that like Dogecoin has now, like where you have 10,000 Dogecoin is like a couple bucks.
Right. If anything, it had, I think, no value.
There was a notional value, and people had traded like dollars for it, but no one had actually purchased anything with Bitcoin. Like
Right.
Bitcoin had never been used as money. It was a tech toy, and it had maybe some value, perhaps theoretically, but no one had actually done anything with it.
Right.
So the very first purchase that was ever made with Bitcoin, actual like physical goods trading hands, was a pizza.
Yep.
So someone went on the Bitcoin Talk forums and said, I will offer 10,000 Bitcoins to anybody who can send me 1 or 2 pizzas, and I just don't want to have to cook them, right? You can bake them yourself, or you can order delivery. I don't really care. I just want some pizza and some left over for the next day.
Right.
That's all I care, and I'll pay 10,000 Bitcoins to anybody who can make this happen.
And effectively, he actually wasn't even in the same place. It was Laszlo was the one who requested the pizzas. He was in the U.S. In Florida, that's right. The Tampa Bay meetup had mentioned he was a Floridian. And the person who had paid for it, I believe, was overseas.
In England or something.
In England, and actually made a long-distance phone call to, I don't know, was it a Pizza Hut or not a Domino's? I can't remember what it was, and had pizza delivered on his credit card. And so it was a huge moment for crypto, Bitcoin being actually used as money. Whether you believe it in the whole store of value versus payment network versus money and whatnot, it was the first time it actually got used as money. And to my understanding, this is a part that I actually need to look into further, but to my understanding, it was also a pretty significant moment also for price discovery. So people kind of very independently kind of associated their own thought of what it might be worth, but it didn't have a collective place where it could have price discovery. And people didn't really know what other people traded it for on a per dollar basis. But since this became such big news, it was on the forums that there was this actual interaction.
10,000 Bitcoins is worth about $40.
Oh, $40.
It costs for
30 to $40. And from then you can now take that amount and say, okay, well, if you're sitting at a poker table and you're playing poker for Bitcoin, we're like, well, someone bought 2 pizzas for 10,000. So that's I'll associate that with the price of this poker chip that's worth $1. So it was a historic moment in the price discovery because it was such a public event that people remember to this day, and hence we celebrate it and eat pizza on May 22nd each year.
So the 10,000 Bitcoins today would be worth like, well, $8,000. So that's like 80 million?
80 million or something.
$80 million.
Crazy
so that
amount.
Pizza would now be worth 80 million if he'd kept the Bitcoins instead. But actually, if he'd kept the Bitcoins instead, they might not be worth that because it wouldn't have kickstarted the whole...
Exactly. So everything that one person might say, well, if I only blah, blah, it's the butterfly effect. You don't know how the world would be different if you had chosen to do something differently. And so it's one of those, at the time it wasn't worth anything. He could have just bought some back, mined some more, but he didn't, is our understanding. And so, well, the 200 million at peak value of those coins are effectively no longer in his hands. But still a historic day. We thank him for kind of creating that moment. It's a kind of a mini holiday in the crypto world.
Well, isn't that a good moral, though? If you spend Bitcoin, which you should, because spending Bitcoin or cryptos in general helps
propagate the
propagate, keeps
Yep.
spreading it, keeps it in use, keeps it in circulation.
Actually keeps the dollar out of being defined as the way value is transferred.
That's actually an even better point.
Right, exactly. So it's kind of the inverse of what it does as well. So correct. So there's a good motivation for spending it, but at the same time, if you are using it as well as a store of value, then reacquiring it becomes just as important.
Spend and replace, right? You
spend, replace.
spend and then you buy back at the end of the month whatever you spent, and then you're always averaging in. You never have that regret like, oh man, back in the day I had X Bitcoins and now I don't, and they're worth.
Because I bought a car with them or blah, blah, blah. And so, of course, that's if you actually have fiat to buy it back. You know, if you're all in on crypto and that's kind of all you have, it's hard to kind of buy it back and you just hope the price goes up enough. But anyway, so that's Bitcoin Pizza Day. For those that didn't understand it, that's what happened. It was historic and we celebrate it to this day. Another question that did come over Twitter after someone on Twitter mentioned that Edge pays their staff in Bitcoin, and we have since pretty much day one.
I have been paid exclusively in
Yep.
Bitcoin. I haven't made any really dollar revenue other than like birthday gifts or whatever.
Right, exactly.
In like
Same
5
here.
years, 6 years. Yeah.
Exactly. So same here. And the question was, you know, how do the people, first, how does the company kind of handle that, you know, and what's the process and flow? And then as well, how do people inside of the company handle getting paid in a crypto amount, right? A crypto amount each month. Now, just for clarity, we don't pay people quoted in a crypto amount. So Edge pays staff quoted in a dollar amount per month, but at the time that it's paid, we pay that in Bitcoin.
Right. So 1 month I might make, well, let's just say hypothetically, because I'm a super valuable employee, I get 1 Bitcoin the 1 month and then 2 Bitcoins
the next month or whatnot.
But
Yeah. Say you're quoted at earning $20,000 in a month, right? Really good salary. We would take that $20,000 and at the time that someone is going to get paid, convert that using a common exchange rate, say Bitstamp, Coinbase, and then issue that amount of Bitcoin to a person. And we let people know roughly about a day to 2 days prior to when the payment is going to get issued. That way they know when to expect it in case they want to liquidate some of that fairly quickly. That's what we do on the kind of operation side. And it's
getting paid $20K a month, that would be
amazing.
I don't think anybody here makes anything.
Yeah, we don't make
close
that
to
in the startup world. We don't make that. But just as an example, that dollar amount effectively gets converted into crypto at the time the payment's made. We usually within about the 15-minute time frame, and that's the amount of crypto that gets sent out. And that happens on the company side. You could probably speak better onto what it's like to actually earn that and have it as crypto first, even though it's a dollar amount. Have it as crypto first, and then how you choose to kind of deal with that volatile asset.
Well, from an income tax point of view, I just submitted W-2, which just says how many dollars worth of crypto I received, right? So that's no big deal.
Right.
It's just like normal employee, as if I had received a check, except instead of going into my checking account, it went into my crypto wallet.
That's right.
So typically what I will do, and I can't speak for the other people in the company, I will usually sell a portion of it, maybe like 80%. And that's going to pay the credit card bill, and that's going to pay the rent. I used to have one of those crypto straight debit cards where you like load it up with crypto and you swipe it and like debits then and there. But the service provider I had shut down the card. They had some trouble with their banking partnership, and I never reacquired one. So I just pay normal credit card and then like reload.
Yeah, and just sell and reload. So and I think we find that that's probably a common answer from the people that have mentioned how they treat it. You know, some people just go all in and just keep all of it in crypto and ride the wave. Some people, you know, sell a vast majority of it higher than 80%. But I think that's in a way it's a automatic dollar cost averaging opportunity to acquire crypto, whatever percentage of salary you choose to keep. And then the friction comes in, you know, having to exchange it out into dollars.
And the 20% that I keep, some of it I will keep month over month, and that keeps building up. And then, you know, my stash slowly builds. But
right, start stacking your sats.
But what I try to do with it as much as I can is spend it on things in crypto.
Right. Nice.
So like I use Bitrefill, which is a partner of Edge, and it's in our app. You just go to the side menu and then pick spend Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I use that to reload my cell phone service. So I actually have one of the cell phone services that are listed there. And so every month I put in, you know, my $40 and reload my phone.
Nice. Cool.
So I'm using the app in that way. What else do I do? A lot of coffee with crypto.
Yep. That's definitely something you're not supposed to do, William. Bad boy. You're not supposed to buy coffee with crypto, but if you can, and you
Bitcoin's
enjoy
not
it,
meant for a coffee purchase.
yeah, exactly. I think we've actually purchased a good amount of coffee in the office with crypto for HODL Fuel. I believe has been we've definitely been a customer of HODL Fuel with some regularity, and reload our bags of coffee over here with some Bitcoin.
I also found a website called coffeecoin.io. They actually have their own blockchain, their own coin,
Oh wow,
but they also sell bags of coffee for like BTC and BCH.
got it.
So I can just order bags of like custom roasted, like from
Specific
Thailand,
regions,
like
yeah.
like single origin.
Yep. Yeah, so there's definitely ways to spend it. Not easy, but there's a few options, and if it aligns
Overstock's
with
nice.
your
Purse. Oh,
purse,
so
that's
much
right.
purse. So
Yeah,
much purse.
Definitely done a lot of purse over the years. So hats off to Andrew over at Purse for offering a way for people to actually save money when using crypto, which makes
So if you're not familiar with what purse.io is, it's a website where you go, you search Amazon for what you want to buy, you put those products into Purse, and then they will broker a deal where you get the products and you pay in Bitcoin.
right. Yep. And you actually get a significant discount.
Like
Anywhere
15% off
Yeah,
Amazon.
10 to 15% on Amazon because someone else is willing to buy your product with their Amazon credit on their account and effectively give you the discount because they'll take a loss on the exchange rate because they don't have access to be able to liquidate their Amazon credit.
Right. So you have people who have Amazon gift cards that are stocking up, or pawn shops get gift cards all the time.
Right.
People who work on like Mechanical Turk, like a guy in India working Mechanical Turk gets paid in Amazon
credit.
dollars
Yep.
that he can't use in India because he doesn't want to order from overseas. So he'll
Exactly.
use Purse to liquidate those Amazon dollars into Bitcoin, which he can.
Yep. No, it's a great use case. And really what it's doing is it's taking an asset that's very liquid, Bitcoin, and very international, and making an illiquid asset, which is Amazon credits, liquid, right? By allowing people to effectively buy your Bitcoin with their Amazon credit. And so we benefit in the developed world by getting cheaper Amazon products. They benefit by being able to liquidate an illiquid asset and be able to use it in the real world. Because there's only so much Amazon that they want to buy. Maybe they actually want to pay rent. So with Bitcoin, they can go to an exchange and do that. So great product, great use case. Definitely invite people to give that a try. And they take, I think it's Bitcoin and BCH as well. Right.
They
on
do
Purse.
BTC and BCH on Purse. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. And on
the note
that
of
note,
spending money on things that you can buy,
right. Actually, very relevant this week.
AT&T is now taking Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash
Yep.
via BitPay.
I think it's BitPay. I think it's BitPay, correct. Yeah, so you can go now to AT&T. I tried it in the AT&T app and I didn't see that option. So maybe it's only on their website. I hit the pay my bill, blah, 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 and nothing
So you're
showed
an
up.
AT&T subscriber.
I'm an AT&T subscriber. It's one
Shoot,
of those
I
like
shouldn't have said that on air.
yeah, now people are going to go and attack my account. I have been SIM hacked, but nothing happened. Guess what? Because I was fully protected. I didn't have any exchange accounts. I was two-factored. But yes, actually, it's one of my accounts. I have a few different ones, one for international, local, testing, things like that. But yes, AT&T does now accept Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash for paying bills. Like, still haven't seen it fully verify it with my very own eyes, so I could take a screenshot and tweet it. But I've seen a few other screenshots that people have taken, so I'll believe that it's active.
You know, I've actually been thinking about switching to AT&T just in general because they're also one of the things you can do on BitRefill as well.
Right, you can actually refill AT&T credits.
Yeah,
right
so
out
I
of
was
BitRefill.
thinking about that as an option, but they're a little more expensive than my current
Yeah,
provider.
no, they'll definitely be a bit more expensive. I happen to be grandfathered in from an ancient old plan that gives me fairly inexpensive unlimited data, so I'm sticking with them. And I actually don't want to use them. I want to switch off, but they've kind of got me, hook, line, and sinker with that good deal. So in time we'll switch off. But yeah, so that's another bit in the news. One interesting question that's come across our plate, and this one is very relevant and interesting because it has a lot to do with kind of protocols and how things have changed. But as people might be aware, it's very easy to accidentally send one currency into the address of a different currency. So for example, you can send Bitcoin Cash, BCH, into a Bitcoin address, like a regular 1 address or a 3 address. Many wallets and exchanges won't warn you and tell you that, this address isn't the standard that Bitcoin Cash uses. They'll just send it there. And once it's there, it isn't going to be detected by that receiving wallet in most cases. And this went through a few kind of cycles of change in the protocol that allowed people to, at one point, you could extract it via a tedious process of getting out your private key from, say, your Bitcoin wallet, putting it in a Bitcoin Cash
So
wallet.
what we're talking
extract it.
about specifically is Bitcoin Cash sent to a Bitcoin address starting with a 3.
So with a 1 even, it was still somewhat tedious. Say you send it to a 1 address.
Well, for a 1 address, you can get it out by getting the Bitcoin BTC private key and then doing a sweep the address type of thing. Like
it's tedious but very doable.
It's doable. Yes.
But once you sent it to a 3 SegWit address, now problems started to arise. And I know you know some of the details of this.
Right. So if you send it to a 3 SegWit address for the first year, I think after Bitcoin and BCH split off, you could retrieve it with the help of a miner.
Now, why would you need the help of a miner?
Because the way SegWit works on the Bitcoin chain is they basically make every transaction anyone can spend. Mm-hmm. Like the miners who are pre-SegWit don't even validate that anybody in particular has any rules. Like anybody can claim the money whatsoever.
So it's a special address script that says, in order for you to spend this money, just spend the money.
Yeah.
Like you don't actually have to prove
it's
you have
just sitting there on the ground. You take it, but what you don't see is like this SegWit like bodyguard like standing over the money. That's like if you're not actually SegWit authorized, you can't take it.
So SegWit's kind of this like hidden rules that pre-SegWit didn't really look at.
Right.
Right.
And so Bitcoin Cash, being a pre-SegWit coin, has no idea about these rules.
These extra rules. Got it.
So if you send money into a SegWit BTC address from a Bitcoin Cash wallet, that money is now spendable, claimable by anybody on Earth.
Got it.
Except that there's one little catch, and that's it's claimable by anybody on Earth, provided they have a magical thing called a hash.
Got it. This is the public key.
It's not even that. It's the hash of the script.
Oh, the hash of the script. Right. That's right.
So if you give the miner the hash of the script, they can claim the money, take it, and run. Mm-hmm. But typically what they'll do is they'll say, fine, we'll take the money, we'll split it with you, 80-20 or whatever their ratio is, and then you get some of your money back and they get some for their effort.
Got it.
Because otherwise, there's nothing protecting it. As soon as you reveal the hash, the money's claimable.
Got it.
Unfortunately, in the last hard fork, not the May 15th one, but the August of last year one, Bitcoin Cash made a new rule which said the stack has to be empty at the end of running a script.
Stack has to be empty. Okay. Can you elaborate on that? I'm actually unaware of what that means. So
Bitcoin's rules of who can claim money, the SegWit rules are you push the hash and then you're done. That's it.
Okay.
And then there's magic in the Bitcoin thing. This is SegWit. Therefore, we take that hash, we match it with the SegWit script, and we validate all this stuff.
So you do a different validation, which is the SegWit rule set.
Yeah.
Okay.
But on Bitcoin Cash, you just see this push. So now there's this hash sitting on the stack, which is part of the rules engine. Mm-hmm. And then the script is over and it's done.
But it's not empty.
So there's this data sitting around on the stack that's not supposed to be there. And the rule is you can only spend the money if the stack ends up empty.
Got it.
So therefore, the money became not spendable by anybody at all.
It was just locked.
It's just locked. You send the money to an address that could never be spent from by any circumstances whatsoever.
And if you've ever tuned in and had and listened to RJ from our support staff, he's received multiple inquiries of this happening to people, or they would send money into, say, a Bitcoin wallet on Edge from an exchange, and it was Bitcoin Cash that they sent, and the exchange didn't give any type of warning that this was not a Bitcoin Cash address, and it just sent the money.
Yeah.
And since Edge uses SegWit addresses by default, that money effectively just got locked.
Like
unspendable.
Unclaimable.
Unspendable, exactly. And so for some people, hopefully, well, for most it was a small amount of money, but for some it wasn't insignificant.
So what happened recently in the May hard fork just a few weeks ago was the Bitcoin Cash developers realized this was becoming a problem, and they undid the empty stack rule specifically for SegWit formatted things.
I see. So it almost like it recognizes SegWit to a small degree, just so that people could recover their funds.
Yes.
Got it. However, people still needed to work with a miner, I presume.
You still need to go to a miner to have them retrieve the money for you.
Got it. So for those of you out there who have made this mistake, whether with Edge as the receiving wallet or with some other service as the receiving wallet, there's now hope, which is good news, because we definitely had to feel quite a few sad calls of people feeling like they had lost money, but the new hard fork kind of changes
the
things.
recommendation is if you're sending Bitcoin Cash into a 3 address, you should not let that happen.
Just don't.
Yeah,
so
if
we
you're an
don't let it happen.
exchange, if you're another wallet, if you're writing any kind of software for Bitcoin Cash and you see a 3 address that is not a valid address, do not send money to it. I mean, yes, okay,
Correct.
there are cases, rare cases where a 3 address
multi-sig
might
BCH
perhaps
address.
possibly be valid, but don't.
Yeah.
Those cases aren't worth the headache that you're causing your users.
Yeah, at minimum, and which is what we do at
Which is
Edge,
what we do.
At minimum, put up a very discreet warning.
Yeah. We warn the user that this is a legacy address. Do you know
Right.
what you're doing? You might lose money if
Yes.
you
Make sure
proceed.
this is actually a Bitcoin Cash wallet that's receiving the money. Otherwise, you could lose the money.
Yeah.
At least now we know that the money might simply be hard to recover, but not necessarily lost. Now, there's one catch to this, though, is if that address actually has had the hash exposed in the past.
Oh, right. So if you spent from that SegWit wallet before, if you use that on the BTC chain, that money could actually be stolen.
It's stolen, correct.
Right away.
Yep. And you don't. It's not that you need the help of a miner. It will just get taken by anybody, likely a miner.
Yeah.
Likely a miner because they'd be the one in control. So be aware of that. Be very careful when sending pretty much anything but Bitcoin into an address that is a kind of Bitcoin standard address, a 1 or a 3 address. That has the potential to get lost or become incredibly difficult to recover or costly to recover. Cool. All right. We kind of covered most of the topics for today. A little update on events and whatnot that we'll
Sure.
be doing. So we did the Bitcoin Pizza Day meetup, hoping to do more of those, especially as the weather gets better. We might do a rooftop party. But we also have a couple people on our team. You'll see Peter and Brett on our BizDev team over at Bitcoin 2019. This is Bitcoin Magazine / BTC Media's big event over the summertime in San Francisco, really kind of celebrating the history of Bitcoin. So we'll have a couple people, boots on the ground, attending that event. And after that, we don't have anything really slated. Summertime might be a little bit on the quiet side. Event that we're looking at attending is DevCon, Ethereum DevCon, which I believe this year is going to be in Osaka.
Did we get in?
Japan. We're looking to attend. We haven't fully decided yet, but we'd love to. I think we have a good chance of having some strong presence over there. But other than that, keep an eye out for other events that we'll be attending or hosting here in San Diego on our Twitter or YouTube page and during this Friday live Q&A in the future. We actually, before I end, I realized we did have one question go live on Twitter on Periscope.
During
During the talk, yeah. And it says, which was asking, could we have your roadmap for 3 years?
3 years. Oh, shoot. I don't even know
3
what
years.
we're doing the next week.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. It depends what fires we have to fight, what network goes down, and what hard fork occurs.
Well, we had just to give an example of the crazy stuff that happens at a wallet company.
Yeah.
Dash this week. They don't have very many Stratum or Electrum servers.
Electrum public nodes.
Yeah, there's not
out
very
there.
many publicly available Electrum nodes out there for Dash.
Right.
And we had a point where most, if not all of them, had gone down. They
Yep.
were just not online. And so we had no ability to do Dash transactions.
Yeah, we couldn't do Dash transactions. And to make things worse, I'm not going to throw them under the bus, but there was an API provider that we were utilizing, the client-side app utilizes to broadcast transactions. And so what we found happening was people would broadcast a transaction. The API provider would actually say, sure, I got the transaction, it's broadcasted, but wouldn't actually send it on the network. They would show it on their block explorer, but wouldn't broadcast it out in the network. And the user would think that they sent out some Dash when really nothing hit the network. So nothing would confirm, and eventually they just had a stuck transaction and the recipient never received any money. And so it was, it wasn't that way a month ago, but now it's that way where we have a low count of nodes which are unreliable and go down, as well as an unreliable API provider. And so we've had to beef up the network ourselves and contribute and host some additional Dash nodes to help out and also remove the use of this unreliable API provider. And this is for one currency amidst the multiple currencies that we deal with. And this isn't unique to Dash. This has happened across multiple different currencies. There was a spam attack on Bitcoin Electrum nodes, on Bitcoin Cash
and then
Electrum nodes.
the same spammers moved to Bitcoin Cash.
And I think they were even on Litecoin for a while. And so we deal with this on what feels like almost a weekly, monthly basis. And so our ability to figure out what we're doing in 3 months is a little bit tough, but it's always good to have a vision and say, okay, well, if things went according to plan, where would we be in 3 years? Well, before 3, where will we be in 1 year? As a platform that is heavily focused on exchange integrations, in 1 year, we'd love to blanket the world and be able to say Edge as a single brand you go to, and wherever you're at, you'll be able to buy and sell Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies and trade them between each other. and do that using a lot of the different partners. In about 2 years, we really like to push the SDK for key management into a large suite of dApps across different blockchains. Ethereum, EOS, Tezos, a lot of other ones out there that all inherently need key management. I think we do really, really well both in Edge, our mobile app, and can deploy that into other apps through our SDK. And in 3 years, maybe 3 to 5, I'd really love to see the leveraging of our security platform for things that are not even crypto, right? Really bring secure private applications that have existed but couldn't really get mass adoption due to the challenges of key management. We'd love to see that out in the wild, where we've got our
So like secure messaging application.
Secure messaging application. To this day, if you use Signal, which is a secure messaging application, and you switch phones, you lose all the messages that were on that phone, unless you literally had to back them up and then restore them onto your new phone. Those messages are gone, and the people that you had paired with, so they know that they are you that they're communicating with, that pairing dies. And you now get a new key that you now have to verify with your friends for them to know that it's you that they're communicating with. Those are all key management problems. And that's the thing that we feel like we do really well at Edge, and we'd love to see that in a suite of other applications, secure messaging, private notes, like this notepad that I'm using right now on my tablet. It saves that on the cloud, but it's not encrypted. I'd love for that to be encrypted where only I can see it. Everything from your Word doc type files and spreadsheets to your photos, photo album, whatnot. That's what we'd love to see much further down the line, is take our vision of creating private secure apps for crypto and make it private secure apps for everything else.
That sounds about right. I was thinking more like blockchain features, like are we going to do multi-sig? Are we going to do Lightning? Are we going to which we've talked about internally, but
for sure. And those are, I think, in the in the crypto phase of the company, which over the course of the next 1 or 2 years, we talk about dApps. That's in that roadmap. Person here, Mo El Mansouri, who asked the question on Periscope, asked about kind of like the 3 year, like where do we see ourselves in 3 years? I don't know if we'll hit there in 3, maybe 3 to 5, but I wanted to make sure people understood that that was kind of one of our grander visions, that what we build goes beyond being able to transact crypto, but has the same ethos of providing really secure private security and privacy to all of us.